I always thought trust was the foundation of love. That if you gave someone your heart, they'd guard it like their own. That's what I believed when I proposed to Sarah, the woman I'd been with for 3 years. We weren't perfect, but we had plans, dreams, wedding dates, baby names, even a Pinterest board full of honeymoon ideas. But all of that shattered with one text. A message that would twist my stomach and haunt me long after the screen went dark. "You're too insecure. He's just a friend." It wasn't the first time she mentioned this guy, Jason. They went to college together. He was always in the background. Group dinners, occasional catch-up coffees, and I'll admit I never liked him. There was something off. The way she smiled when his name popped up, the little pauses before she'd answer where she'd been. But every time I brought it up, I became the problem. I was controlling. I didn't trust her. So I backed off, trying not to be the jealous fiancé. I didn't want to be the reason we fell apart. Then came the announcement. She sat me down on a quiet Sunday morning, said she had big news. I thought she was going to tell me about a promotion. Or maybe she wanted to move the wedding up. But no. She said she was pregnant. And before I could even react with joy or confusion, she followed it with, "It's not yours." Everything froze. I remember blinking at her, thinking maybe she was joking. Maybe this was some kind of twisted prank. But her face stayed calm.
No remorse. No tears.
Just a soft shrug and a line that burned into my memory. "It's your fault. I needed comfort." As if that explained everything. As if my insecurity had somehow pushed her into someone else's arms and bed. I sat there, my whole future collapsing in front of me. Our wedding was just weeks away. We had deposits paid, a shared savings account for our honeymoon, even a playlist for the first dance. And now she was telling me she was carrying another man's child, his child. The same friend I'd been told not to worry about. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even say much. I just stood up, walked into our room, and started thinking. Within 48 hours, I canceled the venue. Told the caterer to keep the deposit. I emptied our shared bank account. We had both contributed, and I wasn't about to fund her new life with Jason. Then I did something I'm not proud of, but I don't regret it either. I printed out the sonogram photo she'd left on the kitchen counter and mailed it anonymously to her parents, along with a note that read, "Ask your daughter who the father is." And just like that, I vanished from her life. But that was only the beginning. Because what came next she never saw coming. The hours after I walked out felt like a dream. Not the kind you want to wake up from, but the kind you're desperate to escape. I checked into a hotel not far from our apartment, turned my phone off, and just sat there, staring at the ceiling, replaying her words again and again. "It's your fault." I needed comfort. Like I hadn't been there. Like I hadn't stayed up with her through sleepless nights, helped her through anxiety attacks, supported her when she lost her job last year. Somehow, I was still the one who pushed her into another man's arms. In the silence of that hotel room, I started piecing things together. The late-night texts she used to smile at before turning the screen face down. The girls' nights that always ended with her stumbling in at 2 a.m., saying her phone died. The way she defended Jason with more passion than she ever defended me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't insecure. I was right all along, and that hurt more than anything. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not my family. Not my best friend Marcus, who had been my best man since day one. I felt embarrassed. Like I had been the fool, walking around proudly showing off a ring she was probably taking off the second I left for work. But it didn't stay secret for long. Her parents found out. Of course they did, and they called me nonstop after receiving the sonogram. Her mom left me voicemails, sobbing, saying she had no idea, and asking if I was okay. Her dad? He wasn't as gentle. He demanded answers, like I was the one who had betrayed them. And Sarah? She texted me 3 days later. Just 3 words. That was petty. That's what she called it.
Petty.
As if watching the woman I was about to marry destroy our future was supposed to be met with silence and grace. I didn't reply. I couldn't. There was nothing left to say. She had made her choice, and I had walked away. But even though I left, I couldn't escape the memories. The first time I met her at a bookstore downtown. The way we spent every Sunday morning making pancakes and watching bad reality TV. The way she cried when I proposed under that big oak tree in her parents' backyard. It all felt like someone else's life now. Like I had watched a love story play out only to find out I wasn't even the lead. The weird part was, Jason never reached out. Not even once.
No epaledi.
No man-to-man text. Nothing. Almost like he didn't care, or maybe he was just waiting for the dust to settle. But something about his silence didn't sit right with me. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized something wasn't adding up. There were details she left out. Things she dodged when I asked. The timing. The dates. Something was off, and I was about to find out just how deep the betrayal really went. A week passed, and the silence between us stayed heavy. I wasn't just grieving a lost relationship. I was questioning everything I thought I knew about the woman I planned to marry. The more space I had, the more the pieces of the puzzle stopped fitting. I kept thinking about the timeline. Sarah had said she was a few weeks along, which meant she must have been with Jason even while we were planning the final details of the wedding. Cake tastings, flower arrangements, guest list edits. She did all of that while carrying someone else's baby. I couldn't let it go. I needed answers, even if they broke me more. So I went digging. I started with our shared iCloud. She never changed the password. She probably thought I wouldn't dare look after what happened. But I did. And what I found made everything worse. There were old messages between her and Jason, some flirty, some emotional. But what really caught my attention were a few deleted voice notes she must have forgotten were synced. One of them was sent just a week before the pregnancy bombshell. Her voice was shaky. She said, "I don't know if he'll forgive me if he finds out, but I can't lie to him forever."
She was talking about me.
That's when it hit me. Jason didn't even know she was pregnant. And she wasn't planning to tell him, at least not yet. Maybe she was trying to figure out if she could still marry me, pretend it was mine, and carry on like nothing happened. That realization was worse than the betrayal itself. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a calculated lie. At the same time, something strange started happening with our friends. A few people from our wedding party, especially her side, started acting cold toward me. I got a couple of vague texts saying I overreacted, that I should have handled it privately. One even accused me of humiliating Sarah by sending the sonogram to her parents. That's when I realized she was controlling the narrative, painting me as the bitter, insecure ex who couldn't handle the truth. That subplot started spreading fast. But the real twist came when Marcus called me late one night. He was drunk, frustrated, and he finally told me what he'd been holding back.
Man.
I didn't say anything earlier because I wasn't sure. But I saw her with him at that rooftop bar downtown. This was 2 months before the pregnancy thing. They weren't just catching up, bro. So it had been going on longer than she admitted. And my best man had known something wasn't right, but didn't want to start drama before the wedding. I didn't blame him, but now I felt even more surrounded by lies. I had to know the whole truth. I couldn't just walk away while she rewrote the story to make herself the victim. There were too many questions, and I had a feeling the real story was just beginning to unravel. After Marcus dropped that bomb on me, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, going over every single moment from the past year. All the signs I ignored, all the excuses I believed. I felt like a fool. But more than that, I felt angry, not just at Sarah, but at myself. I had trusted her so blindly, even when my gut told me something was off. And now, she was out there twisting the story while I was left trying to make sense of what really happened. The next day, I decided to confront Jason. I didn't want to fight him. I didn't even expect him to admit anything. I just wanted to look him in the eye and see if he flinched. I found his social media and saw that he still worked at the same marketing agency downtown. I waited until the end of the workday and stood outside the building. When he walked out and saw me, his whole body tensed. At first, he tried to walk past like he didn't recognize me. I stepped in front of him and calmly said, "We need to talk." He looked around nervously, then said, "Man, I don't want any trouble. I wasn't there to throw punches. I just wanted the truth." "I know about the baby," I told him. "I know it's yours." His eyes widened for just a second, just long enough to tell me everything I needed to know. He looked away and muttered, "She told me it wasn't serious. That you two were basically over." That hit hard. Not only had she betrayed me, she'd lied to him too. "We were engaged," I said, my voice steady. "She was living in my apartment. We were planning a wedding." Jason looked sick. He sat down on the curb, rubbing his hands over his face.
Isvear, Mum.
"I didn't know it was like that. She told me you were controlling, that you were on a break." I never would have. But I cut him off. "Save it. I'm not here for your apology. I just wanted to see what kind of man you are." He didn't have much to say after that. And honestly, I didn't care. What mattered now was that I had confirmation. She wasn't just careless. She was calculating. Playing two sides, telling two stories, and letting both of us live in her lies. I walked away from Jason that night with one clear thought. This wasn't over. Not yet. Back in my apartment, I got a text from Sarah. Just 5 words. "Can we please talk soon?" The timing couldn't have been worse. She probably sensed that her version of the story was starting to crumble. But I wasn't going to let her talk her way out of this. So I said yes. Not because I wanted closure, but because I was ready to end this once and for all, and make sure she couldn't lie her way out again. What I didn't expect was what she told me when we finally sat down face to face. We met at a quiet cafe just outside the city, far from where anyone we knew might recognize us. I sat down before she arrived, trying to calm my breathing, trying not to show just how much anger and confusion I still carried. When Sarah walked in, she looked different, tired, nervous, like the weight of everything had finally caught up to her. She didn't bother with small talk. She sat across from me, looked down at her hands, and whispered, "There's more I need to tell you." I didn't say a word. I just waited. Let her talk. She hesitated, then finally looked up. The baby might not be Jason's either. I blinked, thinking I must have misheard. "What do you mean, might not?" She sighed, voice shaking. "I was seeing someone else, too. Just once. It was a mistake. I didn't plan it, it just happened." Her eyes were glossy now, but not from guilt, more like fear. I panicked after I missed my period. I told Jason it was his, because I thought it would be easier. But now, I don't know who the father is. That hit harder than anything before. I had been trying to process one betrayal, one affair. Now I was sitting across from a woman I thought I knew, who was telling me there was a third person involved. That the lies ran deeper than I'd ever imagined. I stared at her, trying to find even a trace of the woman I fell in love with, but all I saw was someone I no longer recognized. "So let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You were engaged to me, sleeping with Jason, and also with a third guy, all in the same stretch of time?" She nodded, barely holding eye contact. It was a dark time. I wasn't thinking clearly. I felt alone, lost.
Lost.
That word echoed in my head. I had spent months blaming myself, questioning if I'd done something wrong, when all along, she had been living a double, maybe even triple life. And now there was a baby involved and no one, not even her, knew who the father really was. I stood up, trying to breathe through the rush of heat in my chest. "So, what was the plan?" "Marry me, pretend it was mine, and hope I never figured it out." She didn't deny it. "I just didn't want to lose you," she whispered. But she already had. As I left the cafe, my mind was spinning. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. This was a web of lies with no clear end. And now, with paternity uncertain and her stories unraveling by the day, I realized there was more at stake than I thought. And then, just as I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It read, "You don't know the full story. Meet me. I think you deserve to know what she's hiding." It wasn't signed, but something told me this was just the beginning of a truth I wasn't prepared for. I sat in my car for a few minutes, staring at that anonymous message. "You don't know the full story. Meet me." My first instinct was to delete it and move on. I had been through enough already. But something about the timing, about the fact that it came just after Sarah dropped her latest confession, it felt too calculated to ignore. I texted back, asking where. Within seconds, a location pinged back. A coffee shop not far from where Jason worked. When I arrived, a woman waved me over to a corner table. I didn't recognize her at first. But as I got closer, it clicked. Emily. One of Sarah's coworkers. We'd met once or twice at office parties, nothing more. She looked tense but determined.
She didn't waste time.
Look, I don't want to get involved in your personal life, but I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Sarah lied to all of us. Not just you. I leaned in, confused but listening. She told me she was going to leave you, Emily said, voice low. She said she was tired of pretending that she and Jason had been together for almost a year behind your back. But then when she found out she was pregnant, she panicked. She thought Jason would leave her too. That's when she started telling everyone different versions of the story. I frowned. So, she was serious about Jason? She was, Emily confirmed. Until she got caught. And then suddenly she was backpedaling, trying to frame it all like it was your fault. She even told people you were emotionally abusive. That's why some of her friends turned on you. It was like a gut punch. I had already suspected she was twisting the truth, but hearing how far she went, to the point of calling me abusive, was another level of betrayal. But here's the twist, Emily added, reaching into her bag. Jason's not the father either. She pulled out a folded-up paper and email printout. It was from Jason's company. Apparently, he had taken a paternity test through a legal channel once Sarah told him about the baby. The result? Not a match. I stared at the document, trying to process what that meant. So, who is the father? Emily looked away, then back at me. Sarah had an affair with one of our managers. He's married. He's the father. But no one knows yet. She's been trying to keep it quiet. She begged HR to cover it up when rumors started. I felt like the wind had been knocked out of me. Sarah hadn't just lied to me and Jason. She had created a chain reaction that dragged multiple people into her mess. And the baby? The one she almost convinced me to raise as mine? It belonged to a man who was hiding from his own life, just like she was. For the first time in weeks, I felt clarity. I wasn't just walking away from a failed relationship. I was escaping a web of chaos I had narrowly avoided getting trapped in forever. But just as I stood to leave, Emily stopped me. One more thing, she's planning to reach out to you again. To fix her image. Just be ready.